Hi, this is Kitty Anderson again. I am a board certified menopause coach, and this channel was created to help you through your menopause recovery. I always say we want to recover 100%, and sometimes it takes us doing handstands and backflips and all kinds of things just to get it done. So today I talked with a client out in Virginia, and we had a really good discussion, really great discussion. One of the things that came to mind was that I am an advocate for testosterone for women, and I don't sell testosterone pellets. I'm not making any money on testosterone. I do it because it is something my doctor gave me after my very first year of HRT. And he told me sometimes just the fact that you have HRT suppresses your testosterone a little bit. So we want to bump you up to premenopausal levels. And so I've had testosterone for the last 13 of 14 years of HRT. So I've had the benefit that comes from testosterone, and I realize that most American women are just not getting it. So one of the things that I linked my client to, because she's going to approach her OBGYN and ask for testosterone, is the 2021 Global Consensus of Menopause Societies on the use of testosterone therapy. And this is a great document. I'm going to put it in the YouTube description for you. And it's something that you can print out and hand to your doctor, or you can just link to it. You don't even need to read it. You don't need to even read it, because it's basically saying testosterone therapy is an unmet need. We have to have this. This is going to make our women come alive again. This is going to make us feel sassy and zippy and doodah and social. You know, all these things come from testosterone. Your motivation comes from testosterone. It's really hard to drag yourself to a workout without motivation. It's really hard to diet, but you want to feel motivated. You want that feeling. It allows us to pursue our health. So I am such an advocate. It makes other things happen in your life. My family really noticed when I bumped up my testosterone in 2020. They really noticed because I was joking around with them. And this is something they had never seen me do in the last, 12 years. Even though I had testosterone, I didn't have a high enough dose. I did not have a high enough dose. So this is something I always advocate. I think women are really interested in it. And so I have this PowerPoint that I did. Actually, I did it for a client ages ago, and occasionally I bring it forward, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it into a video for you. It's talking a lot about testosterone and all the different functions of testosterone in your body, but it also mentions some of the things that interrupt your testosterone. So I'm really concerned about the women in our society that are actually trying to take testosterone and trying to get those benefits, but they're doing things like using artificial sugars, so aspartame and stevia, and some of those, even though stevia is natural, it's not natural when we use it in these products. So there's artificial sugars in our environment that will suppress your testosterone, so you won't get the benefits of the HRT. So the other thing that's really important for testosterone is having enough protein in your diet. Don't be afraid to add now super enzymes for breaking down that protein, any type of protein. You might be having some problems with digestive juices. You probably are having some digestion problems. So helping that along is going to be a part of your HRT. So the details are in the video to follow. All right, good to see you. Bye-bye. Testosterone is important. This is actually critical for you. And in America, we don't do a good job getting testosterone to women. Only 3% of menopausal women are using estradiol and progesterone, and an even smaller fraction are using testosterone. And it is so critical to your health and wellness. It works with estradiol and progesterone to recreate your hormones from premenopausal time. So a little background on me. I've been researching daily since 2017, and all of that research goes into my ebooks, my courses, and my coaching. So I want to let you know that all of these things are available for you. I do have 159 symptoms of menopause that I can email to you if you email me at jumpstartaip@gmail.com. That's the beginning. Once you name your symptoms, you start to get a handle on what hormone loss is going to do. So what's your exposure to hormones in general before menopause? Probably close to nothing. You might have tried birth control, and birth control shifts your hormones out of whack entirely, especially if you skip a period. This is really dangerous to skip a period, and nobody tells you this, that estradiol, progesterone, and testosterone all come from the egg at ovulation. And that means ovulation is a good thing. That is boosting your hormone levels, and that is brain protective, and that is health protective. Nobody told you this. Specifically, you know that hormonal birth control usually suppresses testosterone. So your libido drops, your sex drive drops, and that's your signal that testosterone is low. It also affects you emotionally. You are just a better person with testosterone in your life. Let's talk about a study on medical gaslighting when your doctor talks to you about birth control. Over 300 conversations between a patient and a doctor were recorded and analyzed for this study by Littlejohn in 2017. They found that the doctor likely emphasized the negative side effects, saying they are controllable, but they are not. They de-emphasize negative side effects which affect your choice of birth control. 40% did not discuss the serious side effects at all. The doctor might believe that all contraceptives have side effects, and the most effective one that prevent the most pregnancies are the most valuable. Even though they have the most side effects, they might treat them all as equal. Few doctors have time to have a straightforward discussion with you, and the risk of pregnancy makes women overly cautious and willing to take on the side effects. My gosh, we are trying so hard to protect ourselves from pregnancy that we really are taking on ill health. The Littlejohn study found there was little substantive back and forth between the doctor and the patient. I couldn't believe it when I read that women often comment, "Let's get this over with." That means we feel like crap. We don't feel like equals when we talk to our doctor. And going into menopause, this is a real disadvantage. We need to understand what we're getting into. The sociologist that ran this study said women don't return to the doctor when they do have a serious issue because they were told not to worry. Isn't that insane? The same thing is going to hold true for menopause. And I have women scared to death that their doctor's going to take away their HRT. If you have this fear, please email me at jumpstartaip@gmail.com. I help women every day understand there are backup plans. There are ways to use multiple doctors and multiple services so that you never feel dependent upon one person's decision about your HRT. We also found that doctors felt they only wanted to refer to evidence from a special kind of a trial called a randomized control trial. Yes, these are usually the most valid type of trial, but there are many, many other types of trials to take into account. These trials are short, expensive, they might ignore certain populations. These trials don't specify different doses. Different doses have different effects, and you'll see this in your HRT too. When we have medical gaslighting like this, we lose confidence in the doctor. We lose confidence in the medical system, and we really lose confidence in hormonal medications. What they don't explain is that HRT can come in a identical form and therefore has low side effects, very different from birth control. So if you're thinking, I'm going to respond to HRT the same way I responded to birth control, that's just wrong. This slows us down at menopause. We take our time trying to find solutions because we're trying to avoid the doctor. Now, HRT is a fraction of the hormones in birth control pills. I want you to know this. If you've had any type of weird blood clot or something from birth control pills, you may not have any issue with HRT. But just taking the estradiol and the progesterone HRT highlights your need for testosterone. There is some crosstalk between especially progesterone and testosterone receptors. So there's some muckety-muck happening with your progesterone. I'm sorry to say that this is just the way it works. So testosterone is necessary. HRT is such a social justice issue, and when I talk about HRT, I am talking about using testosterone with estradiol and progesterone. I'm talking about all three. So the fraction of women that are getting all three is just microscopic. It is crazy. That's why I'm doing this special on testosterone. And you'll find that even Menopause Taylor does not go into details on testosterone. So I need to cover it here. 70% of women stop their HRT in the first year without even talking to their doctor. This gets back to the medical gaslighting. You're just not expecting good things from our medical systems. So hang in there. You can come for coaching, build your confidence, and I can help you with tools to help you work with your doctor. The common mistakes are using a low dose, which doesn't have any effect. Using oral. Oral is really dangerous in terms of testosterone, and it's really hit or miss in terms of estradiol. You might be using vaginal estrogen only, thinking this low dose only used locally is safer. It is not. Estrogen is protecting you. You might not add testosterone. You might think bleeding is a problem when it's actually just an adjustment of your uterus usually. Usually it's no problem at all. You don't balance your estrogen with progesterone. This is important even for women with a uterus. See my videos on progesterone reaction and the video on the value of progesterone. Sometimes your patch is not attached and therefore it's not working. Women just don't connect the dots sometimes that if your patch is all bubbled, then it's not issuing the estradiol. You might be starting with a provider who is using pellets, and testosterone pellets are notorious for being very, very high dose and causing a lot of reactions. You may not revisit the doctor when you have an issue, and so you just continue having that issue. I had one client who bled for 5 months. 5 months. She didn't want to go to the doctor. She didn't want to be a problem. That's what she said. You might be listening to negative news on HRT, and it really only takes one comment to really cause you to drop using your HRT. It's just we react strongly to negative information. We don't react as strongly to positive information.
You might be afraid to make waves. You might be afraid to ask for more, thinking there's something wrong with me if the doctor doesn't know my dose. Then who does know my dose? Well, really, you go by how you feel. You might be using some non-hormonal products that are actually blocking your HRT. So you want to be stopping all those herbal medications. Honestly, you need to be stopping your vitamin and mineral supplements. You need to be moving towards food. So see my nutrition playlist. Be really, really careful about your echo chamber. You are being sold to, you are being advertised to all continuously. I mean, every single thing that you see, all those recommended videos, all those recommended Facebook groups, they're free, but guess what? Those are going to drag you off track. Nobody makes money if you get well. Nobody makes money on generic HRT. So this is a set of pictures that someone sent me of the 46 different non-estradiol products that they were using instead of HRT. It is crazy the amount of things we go through hoping that this will solve our problems. These bottles do not solve our problems. Identical HRT will. Diet is always a part Diet is always a part of your HRT plan. It is. And this quote comes from Lisa Mosconi, who's a PhD and a neuroscientist. Yes, your brain is highly sensitive to nutrition, and low estradiol at menopause and even with HRT means your nutrients are not going into your body. It is like you are starving. Nutrients are needed for your hormone receptors to actually grab the hormone and make it work. Remove foods that block hormones. You must improve food quality at this point. There's so many toxins in our ultra-processed foods. You need high fiber to process the HRT and to avoid any hormonal buildup. You need to remove any foods that act as hormones. You need to count nutrients instead of calories. You'll see that weight loss really, really depends on nutrients. You can use a tool called chronometer.com to evaluate your foods. But the most important thing is to put in variety and specific foods that don't block HRT. Your highest nutrient level is going to be on Sarah Valentine's autoimmune protocol diet. This is a 30-day experiment for you. So if you compare two women in menopause, one with HRT and one without, the one with HRT is 39% less likely to die on any given day. So you can see how this is working to protect you. Sadly, 10 to 20% of menopausal women lose their jobs. This is an incredible number of women that are totally incapacitated by menopause, and they think they can do nothing about it. Well, that's absolutely wrong. We have solutions for you. 25% of menopausal women have suicidal thoughts. The cause of this is actually low hormones. You think your life is going crazy? And really, it's your perception of life that's going crazy. And granted, there are lots of changes during our menopausal years. In fact, 60% of divorces are happening in women's 40s, 50s, and 60s. So this turmoil of hormone loss is really hurting us. Now, this is a reason to share this video. Low-income women are 1/3 as likely to even get HRT. And it has over 120 functions in your body. You cannot live without this. There aren't just certain women that need HRT. All women can benefit from HRT. Now, there are no female FDA-approved testosterone products in the United States, which means low prescribing and underdosing. Check the YouTube description for a link to the 2021 Global Consensus. This will convince your doctor to use a man's pump for testosterone. I did see recently a friend of mine had a packet of testosterone that had 2.5 milligrams in it. Now, this is the lowest possible dose of testosterone. So if your doctor's starting you at 2.5 milligrams, you're going to have some problems. It's really not going to hit the threshold that you need. There is no understanding of testosterone suppression by drugs, alcohol, stress, fake sugars, processed foods. This means that women in the United States are basically in a permanent disease state and certainly permanently unhappy. So testosterone will make you feel sassy, sexy, attractive, confident, high energy, very social, and it allows you to have physical fitness. This is the most awesome thing on the planet. You do not want to live without this. So when I talk about HRT, I also mean testosterone. This is the third part of the triad, and you actually need more testosterone than estradiol. I have a little warning here for you. Don't do testosterone without estradiol. This will cause immune system issues. Both of these are important for your immune system. Don't do one without the other. That's the way you balance your immune system. And if you have autoimmune, this is really critical for you. So testosterone suppression stops all the good feelings out of testosterone. If you do not feel good, you are likely suppressing your own testosterone. This can happen just because of aging or chronic disease, obesity, extreme diets, vegan, vegetarianism, carnivore, even intermittent fasting. This is all kind of dangerous. We want to lean towards a balanced diet. Even overeating can suppress your testosterone. Oral birth control, we already talked about this. Use of alcohol. We have such fragile body systems, especially in menopause. Alcohol is outrageously damaging. The foods that impact your testosterone directly are soy, dairy, fake sugars like aspartame, even stevia, which is highly processed, by the way, mint, a high carb diet, licorice root, which is actually some type of remedy, high omega-6 fats like vegetable oils like canola and sunflower, and things that you think are healthy like flaxseed. Always be wary of antidepressants. These actually cause fractures. I had one client who had broken bones all in her feet from the use of antidepressants around perimenopause. So she was a young woman and she was crippled by this. Medications, there are 38 medications that cause lupus autoimmune disease. It is imbalancing your testosterone and your hormones. Chronic stress. This is why managing stress is certainly a part of all of our lives. A sedentary lifestyle. You want to move 60 minutes a day, get some cardio, some resistance, and move hourly. Chronic drug use. Now, you're going to be triggered to use drugs again if your estradiol is low. So get that estradiol fixed. Tobacco and marijuana both suppress testosterone. So people might get a short-term solution with marijuana or even CBD, but then long-term, it's suppressing testosterone, which is hurting your immune system. Lack of sleep also hurts your testosterone levels. How does testosterone HRT help your immune system? Well, it's key to maturing the immune cells so that they can do the work. It will reduce your autoantibodies. It will reduce parasites in your intestines, which causes autoimmune disease. It is a premenopausal therapy for many autoimmune diseases. It is also a postmenopausal therapy. So high estrogen without the testosterone added will actually increase your parasites, especially intestinal. I have a couple of videos on low thyroid, so look for those if you want to learn about that specifically. But it's actually autoimmune. The thyroid symptoms will overlap with menopause. You want to make sure you get this tested all throughout perimenopause. Low thyroid also occurs with other autoimmune diseases. This slide I covered in another video on autoantibodies and how light therapy and high dose HRT really helped my autoantibodies. I am basically near normal right now. Testosterone is a key part of normalizing and strengthening my immune system. This is important. I actually have a study that I handed my doctor to tell her my immune system needs the testosterone, and that convinced her to give me testosterone, even if she didn't know how to prescribe it. Testosterone HRT will improve your feelings at a high enough dose. It improves your relationships. You'll start joking around with your family. It boosts your positive mood. It boosts confidence and resilience. You will seek social connections. You're feeling very withdrawn right now, and that is hormonal. Motivation will come easily. You'll have high energy and better focus at a high enough dose. Here are the details of a 2019 study on safety and efficacy of testosterone for women. And it talks a lot about sexual health. Everything intensifies. Your perception of sex is totally going to change with enough testosterone in your body. Look at all the elements of sex that it enhances. So one thing you might feel subconsciously is that your testosterone is hitting the reward pathways of the brain. These are special dopamine and testosterone related pathways. And so there's a mild caution here that you might feel like just dosing higher and higher and higher, but you don't have to. This is not like a real addiction where you do need more and more and more. It really isn't like that. It's just subconscious that your brain knows it's happier on testosterone. So it will lead you to dosing up higher. So here are the specifics on brain health. In the green text, you're going to see all the elements that are really enhanced by testosterone. Analysis, planning, learning, memory, perception, judgment, attention, focus, processing speed. This is crazy. It also eliminates pain, and less pain means better sleep. You should do testosterone for this alone because it protects, sleep protects your brain cells. In the black text here, you're going to see exactly how testosterone works. And we know that a piece of it is helping you with specific things like your memory center and your spatial memory, ability to read a map and not get lost. I did some extra research just on muscle mass. We know that testosterone is going to manage some of your metabolics and make you metabolically healthy. It's going to build muscle, and muscle is going to reduce sarcopenia, which is weak muscles. And then that will decrease your mobility problems. You'll be able to get around. It'll decrease your falls and fractures. It will increase your activity, which will increase your brain function because activity is an important part of staying healthy. It will also decrease weight gain. It helps with glucose disposal. So it ensures that what you eat is stored as muscle instead of stored as fat. So check the YouTube description for the 2021 summary for the use of testosterone therapy for women for a hyposexual disorder. This is our basic guideline. Even though testosterone gives us 100 other benefits, this is our guideline that we hand to our doctor when we want testosterone. So I've summarized here. You can pause the video and look into some of the key elements of that study. Now, that 2021 study is something your doctor's probably never seen before, so don't be shy about handing this over to them. It also says testosterone regulates your nerve cell activity all over your central nervous system. It regulates our sensitivity to rewards. We just don't feel normal without it. We feel excited when we have it. The lack of testosterone is associated with depression. The lack of testosterone is associated with problems in the memory center of the brain. Testosterone affects many tissues: urethra, bladder, brain, genital tissues, reproductive organs, heart, muscles, and ligaments. Testosterone is anti-inflammatory to your brain. It increases your blood flow to your genitals. Testosterone with estradiol will maintain the genital structures. There will be no atrophy. A lot of women tell me that they know that their clitoris became very small. It also supports the pelvic floor. And so women that do HRT, including testosterone, do not have to do pelvic floor therapy. It's kind of crazy. Just living a regular life will do it. HRT, estradiol progesterone, may suppress your testosterone, so supplement that testosterone. A baseline test of testosterone will determine if testosterone therapy might be helpful, but this is not really your guideline. Go by your symptoms, go by how you feel. So transdermal testosterone is best, and in fact, they've seen a lot of side effects with oral testosterone. Please don't do that. This reinforces that 2021 study. This is from Harvard Health in 2019. So they're talking more about how testosterone helps you burn calories and helps you avoid weight gain. Your muscles burn more calories at the resting state. Bone strength depends on testosterone levels. This works with estradiol and progesterone. They're all important. Please use progesterone even if you don't have a uterus. Your bones will benefit. Age will increase the binding protein, so you would have less available testosterone. You might have to increase your dose over time. Men and women who use testosterone report lower anxiety, quicker fat loss, and better mood. Testosterone testing, so your blood levels, do not correlate with your symptoms. The symptoms are what's happening in your tissues. Always go by your symptoms. You can contact me at jumpstartaip@gmail.com for 159 plus symptoms of menopause. I'm saying it again here. Harvard Health says the blood test doesn't mean much. Please go by how you feel. Okay, let's talk about dosing. You could dose between 2 and 15 milligrams, and there is a big difference between each milligram, but you have to hit a threshold before you start feeling that energy bump. So you should feel a strong bump of energy within an hour of applying transdermal testosterone. Be careful not to overdose. You'll have acne. If you do, you might feel muscle cramps. You might see some hair growth on your face. You might hear your voice cracking, and ultimately that would also be deepening. You might see some genital enlargement. Just dose down, or don't worry about it. If your energy is really good, then a few hairs on your face are not going to be a big issue. So here we go. Here's a woman that really represents what testosterone does. She looks alert, awake, focused, high energy, fit, is not struggling with weight gain, she's strong, she's happy, she's energized, she is ready to live life. Just as a reminder, here's some numbers that just come from our use of estradiol and progesterone. It doesn't even factor in the use of testosterone HRT. Most of the studies do not. So I've been using testosterone since basically my first year on HRT. So my chances are so much better than these numbers even imply. So regular HRT, estradiol, progesterone, cuts your risk of death by 39%, risk of COVID by 50%. Sorry, that's risk of dying from COVID by 50%, developing diabetes by minus 30%, heart attack minus 70%. If you're near Alzheimer's, we've got different numbers from different studies, but one said minus 30%, another said minus 58% for any neurodegenerative disease. All fractures are decreased by 50%, colon cancer by 37%, urinary tract infections by minus 60%, and I have never had a UTI, never. Depressive symptoms by minus 48%, reduces breast cancer if given near menopause. So it's impacting everything about COVID-19, whether or not you catch it, whether or not you have symptoms, whether or not you die from it, and whether or not you spread it to others. How cool is that? You're boosting your immune system. So let's get down to the details. I optimize for 12 hormones, considering my immune health, brain health, sexual health, bone health, weight management, sleep, and mental health. I do it all, and I do a little bit extra beyond the HRT. So everything you're about to see costs me about $5 per day. And I'm not using any of the other drugs. I'm not using statins. I'm not using metformin. I'm not using anything like that. My diet really is the medical care that I need. So I do something I call high dose HRT plus, right? So I'm considering nutrition, I'm counting my nutrients. I do movement every day, sleep, stress management, toxin reduction, pharma reduction, and hormone balance. All of these things are coaching topics. All of these things impact your HRT. So what are the specifics? Let's get into the nitty-gritty of HRT plus. I use a thyroid medicine because I have an autoimmune thyroid disease. So I use one that has T4, T3, and T2 called natural desiccated thyroid. I use high dose estradiol. This is your master hormone. I use progesterone. This is the calming hormone. I use testosterone. It gives me high energy. I'm dosing up around 6 to 10 milligrams. It's really just an estimate. I use an inexpensive man's pump. I also use a medication called Risperdal, and I use this at a very low dose to boost a hormone inside my body called prolactin. I use pregnenolone, which is another master hormone. It's being tested for Alzheimer's recovery. I use melatonin to fall asleep because we naturally have less melatonin as we age. I use low-dose naltrexone, and this is a non-toxic medicine that boosts my endorphins and my enkephalins. These are healing hormones. I use vitamin D, some from the sun, but I also do a supplement, especially in the winter, 50,000 IUs once weekly. But test your levels. That sounds like a lot, doesn't it? But HRT plus is involved in hormone balance. We need this in postmenopause the same way we needed it in premenopause. Nothing has really changed here. Nutrition. Nutrition is food molecules that communicate the same way HRT molecules communicate with your body. So I'm removing foods with hormone signals, foods with immune signals, and food that inflames, or any food that might stop digestion and really hurt nutrient absorption. I'm going to add foods with really high nutrients like liver, grass-fed beef, seafood, fermented foods, vegetables, berries, and very high fiber. With that, I add something called now super enzymes, which has everything I need to break down the food. So we talked about gaslighting, medical gaslighting at the very beginning of this presentation, because we have been burned. We know we have been burned. So basically, this was a do-it-yourself experience for me for the last 14, close to 15 years now. So some of the things I did on my own was I added infrared red light therapy and tested that out, seeing a great impact from that. I avoided my colonoscopy altogether by using a fecal smear. I have learned to research pharmaceuticals and learn what the damage they do. I have specified my own thyroid supplement. I did the research and figured out I might do better on natural desiccated thyroid. I quadrupled my estradiol dose to protect from COVID-19. I brought on pregnenolone all by myself, and then later I found the research. I retested the micronized oral progesterone even when I was previously having a reaction. I decided my body was in a new place with all my immune supports. So I had a much better reaction to progesterone. I've made moves away from toxins. I use Risperdal to stimulate hormones, and it turns out that this also helps to build new cells in the memory center of the brain. I added Adderall because focus is an issue for those of us with low hormones. I added the diet to add immune strengthening, and exercise has always been a part of my life, except when I was crippled by menopause, right? Got that back in. So back to doctors and all the doctor mistakes. So here's a list, and this is not everything. So I went to 6 doctors, and none of them said increase your estradiol. I went to so many doctors that never saw a hormone connection, ever. They looked at me like I was crazy. It was nuts. I went to an integrative medicine doctor who almost took me off of hormones and put me on these inferior products. I went to a conventional OBGYN who said no hormones. I went to another one that said no testosterone, so I had to move away from her. I went to an autoimmune expert who said diet only, nothing about hormones. I went to a functional medicine doctor who took no action on hormones. In fact, she was not even trained in hormones, and I didn't realize only some of the functional medicine doctors are trained in hormones. I went to an acupuncturist. He had no opinion on the hormones. I went to a boutique doctor who almost forced me onto testosterone pellets. I talked to my professors, even the one that was teaching a hormones class at the university level, and they did not know anything about hormone supplements. I went to a pharmaceutical, actually it's a functional pharmacy, and they sold vitamin and mineral supplements instead of getting you HRT. I went to a dentist who did not recognize the gum disease that I had was related to hormones. I went to a dermatologist who also recommended lots of non-hormonal products, even though all of your collagen is dependent upon estradiol and progesterone. So the wrinkles on my face are really because my dermatologist said nothing. Here's some other really common mistakes. You could get a low dose product for your hormones and you would have no protection. You could get vaginal products and you would have very low protection. Those are not systemic. Those don't work on your brain. Your oral HRT might give you an incredibly low dose, or depending upon your liver, could give you a dangerously high dose. It is not really effective. Adding that testosterone, you can see by now, it's really necessary. And adding other drugs to the problem of hormone loss doesn't work on the root cause. Always consider that other drugs can hurt your memory, they can hurt your cognition, and most of them do. They don't have to be tested for how they impact your cognition. So that's it on testosterone. It's amazing. It's so worth it. Go fight for it. Testing testosterone, just like the rest of HRT, is not entirely reliable. It's not the way you want to manage your dosing for HRT. You want to make sure you dose up enough to feel the benefits of the HRT. So I always say you're going to dose high enough on your testosterone to feel a bump in energy within 1 hour. For me, sometimes I feel it within 60 seconds. So it depends on how much I'm putting on, but it absorbs really quickly, it dries really quickly, and I can feel the energy. I can feel the light go on in behind my eyes, right? I can feel that I'm up and I'm ready to go. So every single day I wake up and I do it in the morning. So it's kind of run its course by the time I wake up and I go, I'm slowed down a little bit, aren't I? And then I put the testosterone in and go to do my workout every single day. And it gives me that energy back. There's a whole big bunch of energy that comes from the testosterone. So that is the guidance that I always give. So your doctor might do some testing. When they're testing your blood levels, they're not testing your tissue levels. They don't know how much is in your brain. They have no clue. And they know that. And that's in the global consensus. But they might feel obligated to once a year do some testing to make sure you're not overdosing. But you'll know if you're overdosing. You'll get acne, your skin will get oily if you're overdosing. If you're dosing way above a woman's level, you'll get acne, you might get a muscle cramp, no problem. You just dose down the next day. This is not a big deal. If you did this long term, you could get a deepening of the voice, right? So, and you don't want that. So you can tell from my voice that I've not really been overdosing this entire time. And then I'm I have a broad range of normal, right? So I dose, my dosing is just an estimate. I use a man's pump, right? And the man's pump has 12.5 milligrams in it. And I feel really good between 6 and 10, right? So I do a half a pump or I do a partial pump and I feel good for the day, right? So I feel great. Um, I'm not very exact in my dosing, which is different from estradiol. Estradiol, you're really, really sensitive. And so, and it's a microgram, right? It's a microgram. It's so small. So you're really sensitive to that. And a little change in dosing is going to make a big difference there. But in the testosterone, I don't feel a big difference in the different types of dosing. So I can do 6 milligrams, 7, 8, 9, 10. You know, it's all good. My body knows how to handle it. My body likes testosterone. So I just wanted to mention that because that's not in the PowerPoint. And I'm sure you care. All right. Another thing that I've been asked about a lot is pellets, testosterone pellets. And yes, some doctors, that's a big moneymaker for them. That's a big moneymaker. And it can be dangerous. That can get infected and it can cause pain. I had one client that used the pellets and it landed on a nerve and it caused pain for the 3 months that it was in. So she was really in pain and you can't take those pellets out. You just have to live with it. And then I also talked to a psychiatrist who said, don't you ever do a pellet. Don't ever do one because the pellets can cause emotional rages if the dose is too high for you. So the doctor's just guessing at what your dose is. And then the way you break it down can be different from another person. So the dosing is kind of hit or miss. It's hit or miss. And worst case, the whole thing gets infected and you end up in surgery. That's insane. Why would you do that? And it's expensive. What is it? $400 a shot, three or four times a year. That's a lot of money. I use transdermal and it costs me 20 bucks a month. 20 bucks a month to use a man's pump and a good RX coupon. So be looking for that. That's the right way to do it. And the global consensus says use a man's pump. Use the inexpensive pump. It's high quality. This is the best product you're going to find. And you control the dose. It's not about pellets. In general, you've also heard me talk about compounded HRT. It is a marketing term to call it natural HRT. It's a marketing term to call it bioidentical, because actually it's not as reliable as the FDA approved non-compounded products, right? You're going to get the highest quality in the FDA approval process, right? So this is compounded is an unregulated industry, and that causes a lot of problems. They've actually found that some of those compounders did not check the ingredients, and there were deaths on the compounded products. This is why every single menopause society says, do not use compounded products. It wasn't a big, huge thing with lots and lots of deaths. It did not make the news, but doctors know about this, right? They know that these are small operations. These machines are really small. The ingredients are not always checked when they come in the door. This is a very small operation. 3 people might be working on this in the pharmacy. I've actually toured a pharmacy and there's almost nobody there and they look like young kids. You know, there's a pharmacist overseeing things, but it's unpredictable. Someone has a bad day. When you have 3 people working on it, you're going to get a bad batch. And if you're underdosing on these products, you don't get the benefit of that product. You might not notice that you get a batch of compounded. You might not notice that it's not working. You might think, I'm starting to get depressed, right? You might think, oh, it's my life. You don't know that it's the product came through at a half dose that month. You just don't know. So I've got an entire video. I'll put a link in the YouTube description to compounding. And you'll see other doctors starting to talk about this on YouTube. They're just starting to recognize that that it's good to tell women which HRT to steer clear of, right? That's a favor that we are doing for you, to try and communicate what's in the position statements of the menopause societies. So it has research backing. It has research backing. So steer clear. And that is testosterone. It's magical. I love it. I'd be so disappointed if it was not offered to us. And in some countries, it'll never be offered to us. So we are lucky to live in America, and our doctors can be convinced by the global consensus. So good luck with your approach to testosterone, and I know you're going to enjoy the benefits. It's fabulous. So please share these videos. Bye-bye.